there's some stuff that I want to talk about from the China front.
Welcome to Chinese news.
It comes from China. 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 It's not racist at all, no.
Chinese news.
Oh, and it's also got to do with Biden.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Hairy. Got hairy legs. Hairy.
COVID. Armageddon's on the way.
Bloomberg headline: No possibility of reconciliation as U.S. slams China chips. No on those China chips. The Biden administration's new restrictions on technology exports to China could undercut the country's ability to develop wide swaths of its economy, from semiconductors and supercomputers to surveillance systems and advanced weapons. I love how the war is like, no. We're not going to let you build that. We're going to build that here in America, baby. The U.S. Commerce Department on Friday unveiled sweeping regulations that limit the sale of semiconductors and chip-making equipment to Chinese customers, striking at the foundation of the country's efforts to build its own chip industry. The agency also added 31 organizations and 2 more unnamed. No, I'm just kidding. The agency also added 31 organizations to its unverified list, including Yangtze Memory Technologies Co., and a subsidiary of leading chip equipment maker Naura Technology Group Co., severely limiting their ability to buy technology from abroad. The moves are the Biden administration's most aggressive yet, as it tries to stop China from developing technological capabilities it sees as a threat. Depending on how broadly Washington enforces the restrictions, the impact could extend well beyond semiconductors and into industries that rely on high-end computing, from electric vehicles and aerospace to simple gadgets like smartphones. Chinese state media and officials over the weekend raged against the action, warning of economic consequences and stirring speculation about potential retaliation. He, Xiaopeng, the chairman and CEO of Chinese EV maker Xpeng Inc., warned last month that escalating U.S. restrictions on chip exports will set back the nation's autonomous driving sector. The two countries are now officially in an, quote, economic war. Dylan Patel, chief analyst at SemiAnalysis, said. The Chinese analyst said there is, quote, no possibility of reconciliation any longer. Quote, this is the U.S. salvo against China's efforts to build its domestic tech capabilities, said Patel, who estimates the restrictions could reduce global technology and industry trade by hundreds of billions of dollars. Quote, it's the U.S. firing back, making clear they will fight back. European and Chinese semiconductor stocks tumbled on the news. It goes into some of the stock and how much they fell. Quote, the rules are a directional signal about U.S. policy in China. A very hawkish consensus is now cemented in place, wrote Dan Wang, technology analyst at Gavical Dragonomics. Oh, good. Like dragon economics, Dragonomics. Cool. Very cool. U.S. officials said the new restrictions are necessary to stop China from becoming more of an economic and military menace. And it goes, this right here. China, quote, has poured resources into developing supercomputing capabilities and seeks to become a world leader in artificial intelligence by 2030, said Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Export Administration Thea D. Rosman-Kendler. Quote, it is using these capabilities to monitor, track, and surveil their own citizens and fuel its military modernization, end quote. Reaction in China was furious. The nationalistic Global Times newspaper warned the, quote, savage attacks on free trade. Ironic, huh? China would accuse the U.S. as a savage, conducting savage attacks on free trade. Would have dire consequences for the U.S. Quote, only arrogant and ignorant people can truly believe that the U.S. can block the development of China's semiconductor or other technology industries by these illegitimate means, quote, end quote, it said in an editorial. Quote, the U.S. hegemony in science and technology that harms others without benefiting itself may bring some short-term difficulties to China's semiconductor industry, but will in turn strengthen China's will and ability to stand on its own in science and technology. And so, yes, we are at an economic war, and it pertains to the U.S. and Biden, the Biden administration. putting in more, just really restrictive, restrictions that are sweeping to prevent China from accessing the development of technology, at least, the hardware. And I think this is very familiar to people who have studied a little bit of history, especially like World War II history, where the US started to choke out certain resources for Japan, and Japan was kind of backed into a corner, and they were, for the sake of honor, they had to attack Pearl Harbor. They were sort of baited into it. And I think this is the same thing with the Taiwan-China situation. If the US starts to choke them out, it's going to force China to do something about Taiwan, and because of the chip manufacturing that's there in Taiwan. So I think this is a very dangerous thing, and part of the economic turmoil and downturn that we'll probably see for another year or so is probably part of this. The realignment of a lot of the resources that go into building the hardware for technology to advance. And so it all comes back to a resource war in the end. It's not just the data. The data is sort of the cherry on top of everything. You gotta get the hardware to surveil, and the US doesn't want China to have all that technology because they don't want them to be the only ones with all the capabilities. But in connection to this story, I want to bring your attention to a tweet from Blackrock. Good old Blackrock, our friends that, they're not buying up all real estate. They're just funding stuff that does that. On October 11th, the Blackrock Twitter account posted this. The Wall Street Journal Opinion published an op-ed titled China's Threat to Taiwan Semiconductors, which had numerous inaccurate statements about Blackrock and said we have been, quote, conspicuously silent about the risks associated with China and Taiwan. So Blackrock on Twitter, their own Twitter account, is highlighting a Wall Street Journal opinion piece that was sort of, I guess, less than favorable towards Blackrock, and suggesting maybe Blackrock had some ties to the CCP or some bias against or with them, as opposed to the interests of the West and the US. And as part of the tweet thread, it's a long thread, it goes into 6 posts, but on the second post, here's what Blackrock says. He sets it up that Blackrock has been conspicuously silent about the risks associated with China and Taiwan. Blackrock says this: that's not true. We have highlighted for the past year the investment risks should China take steps to accelerate reunification with Taiwan. Okay, this is very subtle, but I want people to pick this up. Blackrock, in their own words, said that, there could be investment risks if China took steps to accelerate reunification with Taiwan. Now, that language, accelerate reunification, is more in line with what China sees as the situation with Taiwan. Taiwan and the West sees Taiwan as its own thing, its own nation, sovereign. But China sees it as, no, they're part of us. This whole thing is part of a reunification. So for Blackrock to use the phrase, or the word specifically, reunification in the context with China's activities in Taiwan, suggests that maybe Blackrock is being influenced heavily by the CCP. And that's partly why we are value for value here. See, if Blackrock was value for value, first off, they would not be the monster that they are, trillions of dollars and buying up a whole bunch of land and controlling the entire economy here, or one of the big companies doing so. Big tentacle in the big Kraken has taken over the world. they wouldn't have that level of power, but also they would be beholden to no one but the people funding them, which would be the people, which is not what's happening here. This is a government, a totalitarian government, the CCP, or at least authoritarian, that is influencing the thinking here at Blackrock. So just thought that was an interesting take. But, everybody has an opinion, especially Elon Musk. This is news.sky.com. And the headline here, Elon Musk proposes China-Taiwan solution days after his Russia-Ukraine peace plan poll. So Elon at it again. Again, I really think this is part of distributing the idea, popularizing the idea of, or at least democratizing the way governments operate moving into the future. Yes, geographical governments will still matter, and nation states and everything, those will still matter, but there is a certain level of technological circles or hives that will be created, citizens that belong to cyber nations, meta cyber nations, from all over the world. Yeah, we're everywhere, but we all belong to the Muskverse or whatever it is. And we all voted that this should happen. And so it's sort of this new democratization, technocratic way to do things. And Elon is sort of showing how that's done just through Twitter and polls. Real quick, Elon Musk has suggested making Taiwan a, quote, special administrative zone similar to Hong Kong, just days after floating a, quote unquote, peace plan he said could end Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Quote, my recommendation would be to figure out a special administrative zone for Taiwan that is reasonably palatable, probably won't make everyone happy, he told the Financial Times, and yada, yada, yada. He goes on there. But again, why are you sticking your nose in geopolitics at this level, Mr. Elon Musk? Don't you have enough to worry about getting humanity on Mars, allegedly, and cars that drive themselves, and big machines that create tunnels underground, and what else? Internet for the world with your Starlink satellites chained up and locking everybody in the firmament. What else is it? Oh, the robot assistant. And the Neuralink, the brain microchip that's going to get into everyone's brains and control all of humanity. Of course, it's all sort of coming together here. This is a big part of it. If you have a bunch of people as citizens of the Muskverse and they all got the Neuralink, they could all just vote. They could all vote on Elon's Twitter page. And hey, look at that. 100 million people who follow the mind of Elon Musk have agreed that we should make some sort of move to create whatever this whole thing was, making it a what is this? The floating peace plan? What was it? Administrative zone. That's right. The administrative zone in Taiwan. Yeah, because a bunch of people voted on Twitter. Yeah, that's the world that he wants to create. Just a vote on Twitter determines all geopolitical moves, and we strong arm you into doing it, or else we turn off the lights. Simple as that. So there you go. That whole thing sort of, the whole China, the Biden's thing in China, threatening them to make moves, likely for Taiwan. Elon Musk stepping in, saying that there's a way to keep things at peace. But I also think maybe Elon might be privy to what the plan is. And he knows that maybe there's going to be some pretty nasty things that are planned when it comes to the China-Taiwan conflict. And so he wants to kind of get ahead of it and say, hey, I'm the peace guy. I'm the guy that's trying to make peace with this whole thing with the Twitter poll. So there's a lot of different angles to be thought of here.